trials around the death of Freddie Grey last year are continuing after a recent verdict of innocent for one of the accused officers. Colin, any predictions about future trials?
Well, hopefully the future trials are going to take into account the facts. The one thing that I thought, at least the latest trial that we had here in the last couple of weeks, is the Grey family attorney who's representing the family praised the judge's decision based on the evidence that was presented. That's what we want in our justice system. I think that we had a witch trial, and undeniably we have an issue, and we have a number of issues that revolve around what happened with Freddie Grey. We certainly have a police abuse issue. We also have a social issue in some of these neighborhoods where people completely disrespect the police. So I think it's a fairly involved issue. Ultimately, we need to get to the bottom of the situation and examine the facts and judge each one of those people that were involved based on the facts.
And thank goodness cooler heads are prevailing on some of these, because I got to tell you, I was very worried about our state when I hear the mayor of Baltimore and the state's attorney in Baltimore saying, we want justice for this young man. Well, I want justice for whoever deserves justice. I don't want to predispose who that is. That was very disheartening to me.
Didn't you think that there was too quick of to rush to judgment without facts? Didn't the state's attorney come out and
I think they were
make comments really quickly, and the mayor didn't do things that should have been done?
Well, we have some precedent for
problem.
that based on some other incidents here, in the last couple of years. So I was shocked when I heard that response.
I think the prosecution went way too far with the charges, and you knew they wanted to rush to get to the trial. You knew that they wanted to have an outcome that favored the officers being found guilty. Yeah. In my opinion.
But isn't it great? Isn't it great? And doesn't it speak highly of this family attorney and this family, for that matter? Because they're not that attorney's not going to say that without the family knowing about it, I'm assuming. Doesn't it speak volumes about how some people will truly seek justice, not just revenge?
Well, unfortunately, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, 1968, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, my National Guard unit was sent to Baltimore City. So I had a chance to walk the streets there and very difficult times, and I can understand how people feel. But Freddie Gray's sister even came out and asked that people not do some of the things that they did. I think that family is a good family, that the young man got caught up in a situation that, how do you stop it? Once that motion gets started, and once the paddy wagon or whatever that was used to transport him, once it got to its ultimate destination, and they had an example of what happened or what should have happened, how do you really deal with that?
Right.
It also bothered me a little bit because just immediately after the verdict came out, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake came out and said, well, wait a minute, there's still the administrative piece to the police department, and there's still potential civil. She's still counting on the fact that somebody's going to find this guy guilty. And if he was guilty, yeah, I hope they do. But if he's not, he shouldn't be.
You look at one of the pillars of a free society is a right to jury trial.
Absolutely.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
When that starts getting ebbed away by whatever reason, that's when you start to really question the legality of the current system.
Well, and I think what you're dealing with is the political expediency. I think there's a certain degree of profiteering, and not profiteering necessarily in terms of looking for an advantage, but profiteering on the public anger over a situation. And I think there's a lot more into it than just this one particular incident. I mean, again, inner cities are going to be rife with all kinds of different problems. There is definitely a lack of opportunity in Baltimore. Baltimore is one of the most depressed cities in this country. And ultimately, that buck stops at the city government's door. We're not a poor state. So if they are so mismanaged, if they have so little opportunity, if they fail to do what cities like Pittsburgh and other cities, which were suffering a lot worse because they were Rust Belt cities that saw their entire industry disappear, if they haven't figured out how to do that, it's their fault. And the citizens of Baltimore should be more upset with their city government than anybody else.
I agree.
So am I correct that 3 of the 6 police officers that are charged in this are African American?
I believe that's correct.
And does anybody think that that makes it a little harder to say racist, to
And I also
play
believe-
the racist
I
card?
also believe the judge in the most recent is also black.
Is he?
I believe
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Well, look, I have a fair number of friends that are police officers, and a lot of them are in inner cities, both black and white. Race doesn't play as much of an issue in this as does the cultural response to the police generally. And again, there are multiple facets to that lead to it. But any police officer will tell you that there are areas in large inner cities that not only do they not feel safe, they basically feel threatened anytime that they're there, and the population does not welcome them. And there's something fundamentally wrong with that. Police is there to protect the public and to enforce the rules that we agree upon. How we've gotten there is not going to be fixed by a trial. There's a much bigger issue or process we need to go through to fix it. I think the first thing is to provide more opportunity. People who have good jobs and are able to support themselves are not going to be standing on a street corner doing illegal things that lead to everything else.
You know, one of the things that I will tell you that bothered me about the police department in Baltimore around this case, how long has Maryland had seatbelt laws? And yet we can put people in the back of these paddy wagons, unrestrained, handcuffed. That's really dumb to me. And I mean, that law, that rule for that department just happened
Just to
like
properly
that day or a week or so
Just
before.
to properly secure a person in custody, you would think they'd have to be
Restrained.
in a certain way.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I don't know.
That's
Well,
why they have padded elevators in Annapolis, a couple of them, so people.
Okay. All right.
Up next, Money in Politics is American as hot dogs in baseball. Stay tuned for that report.